Here we are at the AAP national meeting with Caroll Spinney and Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah, I'm miserable. Why are you miserable, Oscar? Because I'd rather be miserable than happy. But the trouble is, when I'm miserable, it makes me happy. I don't like to be happy, so that makes me miserable. But I like to be miserable, and that makes me, I'm a mess. All right, Oscar.
Thank you very much. So I'm curious, I have many questions to ask you, but among them, you have the opportunity to meet children all over the world. And I'm curious, just in the last 5 or 10 years, similarities, differences you notice with children and media.
Yes.
I would imagine you have the rare opportunity to get if you pardon the expression, a bird's eye view of it all.
I guess that's good.
So I'm curious what you've noticed, what you've seen with children around the world, and how their use of media has changed.
Right. Well, I over 1982, and actually in 79, I was in China, and I've been about 4 times there as a bird. Mm-hmm. Once I went on vacation. I worked so much while I was there. I wanted to see things I couldn't stay still for. So, but I found that the children have changed a great deal, because when I was first there in '82, we filmed a video movie called Big Bird in China. Mm-hmm. And so we got to meet a lot of children. And a TV was coming in there, but it was often one TV set in a village where the people would all go watch one set. They'd have sets all around. Of course, now everybody has sets, and they're getting cars, and mm-hmm. everything's changed a lot for them. But there's an innocence that is changed. One thing, certain innocences change from how much television they've been exposed to. We are fortunate to travel a lot. My wife and I were in New Zealand, and it often felt as though it was the 40s, because there were only 2 TV stations at that time, and they were both government run, and they showed very proper, nice stuff. I enjoyed watching it at times, although you don't have much choice with 2 channels. Sometimes with all the channels now, you don't have still very much choice. But a couple of years later we went, and the kids were quite different, because MTV, they went to 8 channels, oh. and MTV was one of them. And all of a sudden they're emulating a lot of stuff. And some of the people I talked to, New Zealanders are very outgoing. They're quiet and shy, but you talk to them, they'll tell you a lot about themselves. And they said the children have changed so much, they're rude. And unfortunately, I think some of that comes from a lot of the flip stuff that comes in TV. And I could generally tell the difference between a family where the children are homeschooled, or not necessarily homeschooled, but that probably does make them more insulated too. But some are still they're careful, they only watch shows like on certain shows on Discovery or mm-hmm. Sesame Street and some other PBS things. And it has an effect, I think, because television is both a wonderful and a terrible influence. In some ways, I feel that television does more worse than good. We've become, I call part of it coarsening, not just of America, which I was saying for a couple of years, but I've spent time in Ireland, and they show a lot of BBC stuff, and they don't edit out some of the words that they do here, and it's even more coarse. And it's entertainment. The children it's accessible all day long, mm-hmm. and they say things that are not ever said in polite company. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm very, very old. I heard a very different world when I grew up.
Well, you've had the wonderful opportunity of seeing media for children evolve over the decades in ways that many people can't. And one might even argue now there are more children's channels now than ever before. Granted, not all of the content many people would feel good about or excited about. And they have access to mobile and tablets and all kinds of things. It would imagine that this is a unique time for children and how they interact with media, instead of just being passive recipients of media.
Yes.
I don't know if you're noticing when you're out there in the last few years about what influences things like iPhones and tablets and mobile or having it all on there.
Well, I don't even have a phone. I do it on the wall at home, but you have to crank it and you put the thing out. No, it's not that bad. But I think that texting, I think, has brought a lot of people close together, and it's also alienated a lot, because we're doing a great deal about bullying lately, and texting has been used very cruelly. And unfortunately, I think compassion has to be learned in many cases, and the children haven't learned it often, particularly as teens, because there's always the gang mentality. Because if one sees it's like chickens. We used to raise chickens to help augment the kitchen larder, and if one had a spot of blood, the other chickens would go at it, and that's why for a while you used to see chickens that have looked like spectacles, but they couldn't see straight ahead. So they wouldn't peck the other children.
I think of kids as in a bird-like way.
That's great. I know your time is limited, and you're probably familiar, as we all are, with the bittersweet news that Gary Nell is moving on to NPR.
Yeah, it made me a little sad. I listen to NPR, but not as much as I would if it wasn't so nice. But they say kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So good luck, Gary.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Gary Nell moment when you're out on the road?
Well, no, I did what do you do?
I was doing Big Bird, and I was doing a thing with Barney, and Gary was very impressed the fact it took a couple people to do Barney, and then I could do it all by myself. Somebody else does the voice, and the other fellow was in the dinosaur.
Wonderful.
And, but that was, I don't get a chance to be with him very much, but I've met him a few times.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Caroll, thank you very much for all the work that you
pleasure,
do.
Scott.
It's been a true pleasure.
May I say
Thank you.
something?
Yes.
Have a rotten day.
Oh, Oscar.
Oh, stop it.
Thank you.